Welcome to Different Facets of Happiness. I'm your host, Jackie Denise, and today I'm joined by Haley Carbajal. Haley is a starseed coach, a mentor, and the creator of the Five Steps to Alignment program. In this episode, we look at Haley's incredible journey, her insights into consciousness, and how we can all tap into our soul's deepest happiness. Haley Carbajal, up next. Haley Carbajal, welcome to Different Facets of Happiness. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am well. Thank you so much. So, at first, congratulations on your show, The Multidimensional Existence on YouTube's Bold Brave TV.
Thank you.
So, you have built a wonderful career as a spiritual coach and mentor, a multidimensional communicator, a medium, and a seer, and the creator of Five Steps to Alignment, a program that helps spiritually awaken people overcome fear and anxiety. And additionally, you provide energy healing and spiritual guidance. But before you explain your journey, what is a multidimensional existence?
Yeah. We ourselves are multidimensional, right? So we have different dimensions of ourselves around certain people. It brings out certain dimensions of us having different facets of emotions. But really, when I talk about the multidimensional existence, it's
Mhm.
about the fact that there are beings and layers of consciousnesses and realities that we can't necessarily see. That's what I refer to when I'm talking about the multidimensional existence.
Interesting. Okay. Well, can you please share your journey and how you discovered your spiritual gifts?
Yeah, so I was essentially raised in a spiritual, actually, at first it was very Catholic. And then eventually my mom got into massage therapy and started exploring more spirituality. And so I kind of get like raised in it. And then it was always just kind of this innate gift within me that just flourished. When I was younger, I actually always wanted to be a famous actress. I wanted to be the female Jim Carrey,
Oh,
actually. How goofy, and like I was the Grinch in high school, like nailed that. Jim Carrey levels nailed that. But the path essentially chose me. And I'm so grateful that I didn't become an actress, that I'm doing what I'm doing now.
you love what you do now.
Yeah.
So, what do you believe are the most important elements of spiritual growth and development?
I think it's authenticity because, most people hear spirituality and they think of people dancing in the woods, or they think of crystals, or they think of meditation. And in reality, walking a true spiritual path is actually not an easy one because you are face to face with your limitations, with the things that keep you small. And it really takes a lot of bravery and courage to authentically and honestly admit to yourself those things that are not congruent with who you want to become or where you're going. So actually, the spiritual path can be a dark path, and not a dark path as an evil, but
Mhm.
it can be a really dense path because you are the only one that is brave enough to admit to all of the things that you wish to no longer be, and you're choosing to release them so you can embody more of who you actually are.
So then, how do you connect this with the spiritual realm, and what methods do you use in your practice?
Well, I don't think that, how do I connect this to the spiritual realm? We are the spiritual. Like, I know we're programmed to believe that we're in 3D, and it is true, we're in a 3D physical existence, but we are spirit. We are the universe experiencing itself, right? So we're all spiritual in a way. It's just, actually, we are all spiritual. It's just how connected are you to that part of yourself? Because we're all spiritual, even those who don't believe in anything. And then how do I implement these practices? So I think it's just a way of being. I do obviously have practices like meditation, journaling, visualization, all of these tools, right? But
Mhm.
none of those tools really mean anything. It's about the person that is using them and the intent in which they're being used.
I completely agree with that. Can you describe a memorable experience where your spiritual guidance had a significant impact on someone's life?
Yes, yes, I'd love to. So there was this one woman years ago who came to me for a Reiki session, and she came to me because she felt like she didn't belong. She felt very lost. She didn't really feel a connection with anybody in her life. And so I went and, I had her lay on the massage table and I placed my hands under her head and I closed my eyes and I started doing Reiki on her. And then all of the sudden I saw this being that looked like Bender from Futurama. And I heard that part of her still had void. Because we have different facets of our DNA and spiritual essence and things like that. That's a whole nother conversation. Billy Carson goes into that really, really well. And so I am there and seeing this being, and this being takes me and her up to what's almost like a psychic surgery operation room. And there are other Bendar like beings around facilitating this quote unquote surgery. And I see that, like almost like remove the top of her skull and they pull this bottomless cage out from her brain and her brain just like completely melts. And at that moment, I'm like, oh my God, is this okay? Like, am I giving this girl a lobotomy? Is like, I'm like questioning, right? But I am in creator's light, so I know that it's safe because that's a very intense, like that practice. You have to go into creator's light if you're going to help anybody. And so then you finish up the procedure, so to say, and then as her and I are coming back down, her human brain starts to take shape and form again. And of course, I'm feeling relief as this is happening. And
Yes.
then eventually we get back down. She, I give her the space. Grab her a drink of water. She grounds herself. She said that was one of the most profound energy healing sessions I've had in my life.
Really?
And yeah, and she said, I feel centered. I feel grounded. I feel balanced. And I didn't explain to her the full story of what happened because I don't know how she would take it. But I did tell her that, there was a part of her that was her essence that was still in their dimension and
Mhm.
that it just needed to be grounded and put here so that she felt whole.
Oh, that is so interesting. So, what advice do you have for individuals seeking to develop their own spiritual or intuitive abilities?
My recommendation would be to connect to the light of creation. And I don't just mean a light, like not just a light. I mean the light from which our consciousness was birthed, where this universe, where this reality was birthed. By connecting to that purest source of light and consciousness and intelligence, you are not only healing yourself just by being in that light. You can use that light to heal yourself, obviously, but you get highest truth. So, highest truth information. You're energetically protected. So, even if you do work on somebody else and you meet a bendar, a bender in your practice, it's safe because it's coming through creator's light. And truthfully, that's where you enhance all of your spiritual gifts, skills, and abilities. And eventually I connected to creation's light before we jumped
Hmm.
on this call, So I would say connect to creator's light. The most effective meditation that I have come across in connecting to creator's light is the one created by Vienna Steibel, the creator of theta healing, DNA theta healing.
Sorry, so you said that you connect to Creator's light through meditation?
Yeah, well, that's the way that I am most familiar with. We're never not connected to that light, but I do think that meditation is the best way to go, but I don't want to limit anybody either because then it's like, oh, well, I'm not a good meditator, so that means I can't connect to creator. That's not true. If you do struggle with meditation, which is completely resolvable or solvable, just do things that make you extremely happy. So whatever you're really good at that fulfills you. Sometimes, for people, it's coloring, it's painting, it's exercising, it's walking, it's writing, it's crafting something. That's a really great way to get yourself into a alpha brainwave state to help facilitate you in connecting to creator.
Okay, so after saying all of this, how do you handle skepticism or doubt from others about your abilities?
I really don't care. Honestly, I really don't care because I understand that we all have these contracts when we come in, and some of us are meant to be awakened to more truth than others, or different levels of truth than others. And it is not my place to try and convince them. It's not my place to even judge them for that, because I'm not God. I'm a God of my own reality, but I'm not the creator. So who am I to say that their perspective on me or what I believe or what they believe is wrong? So I really don't care. The people who are meant to resonate with my message have and always will find me.
True. And speaking about perspective, what's your perspective on the afterlife?
So this is a complicated question because everything is happening here and now. If, it's like David Tennant says in Doctor Who, it's like this wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey sort of thing. Everything exists here and now, right? That's why we can connect to past lives. That's why we can connect to future timelines, because it's never not there. If you look at, like, a great example is our television. If you're watching the Discovery Channel, right, it doesn't mean that the Food Network isn't on. It doesn't mean that the Food Network isn't streaming. You're just tuned into the Discovery Channel, but others are tuned into the frequency of the Food Network, right? So everything is happening here and now. So the afterlife, again, really, this reality is the one that's not real, believe it or not. Because
Uh,
if it can disintegrate, if it can deteriorate, it's not real. We are actually, whether you look at it as from traditional religion, like God created you, you're coming from heaven and you're in a human body experiencing life, or you go the extraterrestrial route where we're living in a fractal holographic universe and we're projecting our consciousness in a human vessel. Regardless of how you look at it, from any perspective, there is an afterlife. I think it's just more the debate of what is the afterlife and how do you know you're in the afterlife, and besides death and all that stuff. But everything's happening here and now. You're not ever disconnected from the afterlife, actually.
oh, interesting. So, how do you differentiate between your own thoughts and the messages that you receive?
That has come with practice and discernment. I know that a lot of clients that I work with kind of struggle with that. I have a meditation on SoundCloud, Haley Carbajal, Deciphering Between the Layers, to kind of help you with that. But so you kind of know when it's your own thoughts. The best way to determine whether it's your higher self or even creation is that the both of those voices, so to say, sometimes they don't always sound different. Sometimes it still sounds like you, which makes it complicated, right? The messages always come from a place of unconditional love. So our thoughts tend to go to self-blame, self-shame, stress, worry, all of that. If it's coming from a place of unconditional love, free of any of those things, that's a good indicator. And then another aspect is that it comes from a place of emotional neutrality. So it's like that thought between thoughts, right? There's no emotional intensity from it. It's emotionally neutral thing that drops in as you're thinking between thoughts.
Okay, interesting. So, do you envision the future of spiritual coaching and mediumship evolving?
I do. I don't think that people are going to be as codependent on energy healers, psychic mediums, coaches, and mentors, because the way that the trajectory of the earth ascending, right? More people now are talking more about what they're feeling rather than what the status quo is or what the right thing to do is. More people are getting curious about themselves and exploring themselves and understanding other human beings, and more people want to make the world a better place. So already in the trajectory of the ascension. And so I believe that we'll get to a point as human where we are self-sustaining, where we do use our own knowledge and intelligence to heal ourselves. And then it's going to be more of like a collaborative experience where, you get feedback from a trusted friend rather than you feel like you have to have a mentor or a coach to help you to learn how to walk. I think we'll eventually all know how to walk. It's just, how do we refine that walk? Does that make sense?
It does. It's very interesting as well. And how can connecting with one's higher self or spirit guides contribute to lasting happiness?
I think it's absolutely essential. Here is why. So, when you're connected to your higher self, you are operating as a whole person. So, we have our physical 3D mind, which is the one that we're most familiar with, the one we're most familiar with using, right? And then we have, as Bashar refers to as our higher mind or our higher self. So, our physical mind is only meant to process what is happening or what has happened. It is not meant to self organize reality. It is not meant to pre calculate how things are going to turn out. It's not even aware of its own divine timing. And then when we go in and we're trying to figure out when and how and the divine timing and all of that stuff, that's when we self-induced stress and worry and panic and anxiety.
Yeah.
You have this consciousness that is you, that is unseen, that its literal job is to make sure that you are supported by the universe if you allow it. So to think about how special that is. And so if this higher part of you that is still connected to spirit, still connected to the etheric realms, is self-organizing, right? So if you're supposed to go one place and meet somebody, but you go to another place, it will self-organize to make sure that somehow you meet that person you were destined to meet, right? Or get
Right.
that job you were destined to get. So if you just allow yourself to give it to the higher mind, or as some people say, give it to God, and just follow that inspired action without having to have control over knowing the how, knowing the path, knowing the why, knowing the when, then everything will take care of itself.
Eventually, we get to where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Always. Good point. So, what energy or vibrations are you picking up about me right now, and how might that influence my journey towards happiness and spiritual growth?
Let's see. Let's see.
Keep it clean.
I am hearing that you really value your professional, not persona, because it's still a part of who you are. It's not a mask that you wear.
Yeah.
It is who you are. But I think that there's a part of you that still desires to express more of your authentic self. There's a part of you that's afraid, and it's natural, right? There's a part of
Mm.
you that is afraid of what people will think and feel and say about you. But in reality, by doing that, you're blocking off the ability for the people who are actually looking for you, who are actually looking for Jacqueline. They won't be able to find you because you're playing it safe, right? So I can tell that you're highly attuned. I can tell that you are very spiritually intelligent. You have really good discernment, really great intuition. And that's why you have this role that you have now, because you do have a message that is meant to be shared. There are people who are hungry to hear your perspective and what you have to say. It's just being bold enough to just, I don't like this cliche word, but unapologetically just be Jacqueline.
Okay, I won't say if that's true or not. That was okay. I will say that was pretty good. Wow, thank you. Okay, my last question to you, finally: how can one balance the pursuit of material success with spiritual happiness?
This is a multifaceted question because we have both ends of the spectrum, right? So a lot of spiritual people will be like, it's wrong to want money. It's wrong to want nice things. It's wrong, like kind of like this noble poor sort
Yeah,
of thing, which is not healthy as just as the other extreme, right? Like, I need to have all of this material things to be happy, or I need to have this nice house in order to feel good about myself, or I need to have these nice clothes. There's a middle point, right? So there's nothing wrong with having nice things to make sure that you're taken care of. Like, how can you be, if let's say that you're a yoga instructor and you have to work at multiple different studios, how can you be the best yoga teacher or yoga instructor that you're supposed to be if you're worried about whether your car is going to make it or not? Right? Or if you're helped here to be, a spiritual mentor or leader, if you're not taking care of your emotional self, how can you help others with their emotions? So there is this balance. The material world is a part of the spiritual path because we are meant to be physical. If we were not meant to be here to be physical, we would not require water, food, money, cars, all these things. We are here to be physical. It's just the intent in which you are pursuing the material world with, right?
Exactly. Ah, well said. Haley Carbajal, thank you very much for joining us today. How can people reach you?
Yeah, so you can reach me at haleycarbajal.com. I'm also very, very active on Instagram, and that's at Haley Carbajal Official. And then you can see me on Gold Brave TV with the Multidimensional Existence. And if you wanted to work with me, I do have a Patreon, and that's under Haley Carbajal as well.
Wonderful. Again, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and best of luck to you.
Oh, thank you so much, and same to you. Thank you for being with us on this version of Different Facets of Happiness. We hope that you enjoyed it. And remember, true happiness is the courage to be yourself in every moment. I'm Jackie Denise. Have a great week.